Let's read 19 and 20. And the men in the ambush rose quickly out of their place, and as soon as he had stretched out his hand, they ran and entered the city and captured it. And they hurried to set the city on fire. So when the men of Ai looked back, behold, the smoke of the city went up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that. For the people who fled to the wilderness turned back against the pursuers. So this is an image of the final destruction in hell. Just as Jude explicitly states about the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, where Genesis says that God rained fire down from heaven out of God. An interesting idea unto itself, but outside of the topic for today. And you have the idea that these men of Ai are surrounded. There is no hope. And in the final destruction of the enemies of God in the battle of Armageddon, Jesus will come from heaven. He'll slay them with the sword of his mouth. And that's it. They will be surrounded in a sense by the power of God. There will be no escape. In hell, it is the smoke of their torment goes up day and night, forever and ever, and there is no escape. As you see in the account, likely the historical account of the rich man in hell, or actually at that time probably in the waiting place to go to the final lake of fire. The man said, this is a story of a man who was wealthy on earth and a poor man who was poor in this world but rich towards God, meaning that he had genuine faith. He was a genuine son of Abraham spiritually. The rich man is in hell, in torment, or in Gehenna, in the lake, in the story. That's a whole other subject. He is in a place of torment, awaiting his final doom in the lake of fire. And he says, Father Abraham, give me just a drop of water. I thirst. I know there's no escape for me here. I'm surrounded by flames. I'm surrounded by doom. There is no hope for me. Now he says, send warning to my brothers. And Jesus says, or Abraham, God through Abraham says, remember in this life you had the good things, Lazarus poor things. Now it's reversed. But your brothers have Moses and the prophets. And we're seeing in Joshua chapter 8 an excellent example of what Abraham there was referring to. Moses and the prophets offered the full picture of the doom to come upon the ungodly enemies of Christ. So it's interesting that things have come full circle. In verse 19, that the overconfidence of the Israelites at the beginning of chapter 7 has now come back to be the overconfidence of the people of Ai. And this is a consistent cycle that you see in the scriptures, where I'll thumbnail a brief description. Here, King David, as we saw in the leadership study, stumbled with one of his lieutenant's own wives. And as a result, God raised up his own son to be a rebel against him. David was being chastised, disciplined for his sin. God's justice was being executed, but Absalom, his son's rebellion, only went on for so long before things came back full circle. Israel was the covenant people of God. David was the covenant man of God. Absalom was a wicked rebel. The men of Ai were wicked rebels. Though there might be a time where God's people suffer under the hand of his discipline, ultimately, that hand will come against God's enemies in full and without remedy. And we can see, for example, in Jeremiah's other book, Lamentations, an example of where God, the Holy Spirit, through the prophet Jeremiah, is recognizing this fact, where he recognizes that the doom of, at that time, the Babylonian Empire that destroyed Jerusalem is soon to be at hand, and things will be restored as they were in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah.